Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. In today's episode, we go backwards. So I was totally buttoning up the Barn to Brat project here. Had bar end mirrors, I mounted those up. Made myself a little license plate bracket right there, and literally was about to film the kind of final test ride and wrap this bike up. And I read one of your comments on the last time I test rode this bike, and it got me thinking, and let me show you what I found. So I'm obviously sitting on the bike now. Do you guys see the problem? This side of the handlebars is about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch lower than that side of the handlebars, which is no good ski. So our handlebars are bent. It took me literally reading one of these comments. It feels kind of silly to admit, but you know, I never claimed to be perfect. That I even have ridden this bike and didn't notice, but now that I do notice, it's like clear as day. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix it. And how we're going to fix that is we are going to replace these handlebars. I don't have, believe it or not, an exact match to these style factory bars. I have a few, ignore this, I have a few set of Clubman bars. I have some clip-ons. I don't think, I don't really like the look of Clubman bars. Clip-ons, they might fit this bike, but I feel like if we did clip-ons, then we'd have to redo the speedo and everything to try and lower them, otherwise those would stick out and look kind of bulky. So what I found is I do have this pair of, I guess I'm going to call them drag bars. They're just totally straight, and what we can do is swap these guys over and keep a very similar look to what we already have without having to go out and buy a new set of handlebars. So today's going to turn into a handlebar swap episode. And then at the end of this, hopefully everything will be done and we can take it for a final test ride. Got all the easy stuff done, basically just unbolting everything, getting the controls loose. The handlebar itself is now loose. Front brakes off, you know, that's all pretty self-explanatory. The biggest pain in the butt part of swapping handlebars is the fact that the wiring runs through the handlebar itself. So you no way around it. You gotta, you know, take each pack of wires, you know, for the turn signals and then for the kill switch and start button. Follow them into the headlight, unplug every single one, feed those all the way through, because on the handlebars themselves you'll have a hole where the wires go in and then a centralized hole where they'll come out. I don't think you can run Honda controls without the wires going through the handlebars, just because of the way they're designed to kind of clamp around. There's no space for the wires to come out when it's clamped, so you really don't have much of a choice other than to go through the handlebar, and that's if you're going with clip-ons or anything else. You have to go into the bar or change out your switches. Got it all pulled apart. Really it's not bad, especially because, you know, all of these are factory, so all of the colors match with where they should in the headlight. So basically just unhooked them all, routed them up like I said, feed them through. I went ahead and took the tank and the seat off because I undid the throttle cables just to make this whole mechanism a lot kind of freer moving and a little bit easier to slide off. And you can see now that this is sitting on a flat bench and it is no longer flat. So even though this was a pain, it was definitely worth doing. Like I said, I do wish I would have found it earlier, but not a huge deal. So basically we're gonna just reverse the process and put on this new handlebar and wrap it all up. Overall not really too bad, definitely a time-consuming job. Only problem I ran into, I had to raise up the triples a little bit. If you remember back when I did the fork seals, we put these about 10 millimeter lower just to kind of lower the front end a little bit, but with these bars there just isn't enough clearance for the banjo on the master cylinder, so we did have to raise that up a little bit. I don't really think it makes all that much of a difference. Got our bar and mirrors on. We got pretty much everything else wrapped up. check and make sure all of our signals and everything work, and so far so good. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw a pair of jeans on. We'll fire this thing up and take it for its first official test ride, hopefully being completely done. Alright, got you guys on the GoPro, hopefully you can hear me. Let's fire this thing up, make sure our fuel is on. Clutches are sticking a little bit, probably just because the bike doesn't get ridden very much. Well, as hopefully you saw in the GoPro video, it is running awesome. It sounds so good. That Dime City muffler in combination with these headers has got to be one of the best sounding combinations for a 550 in my opinion. It's exactly why I went with that muffler. I just really love the sound of it. It's loud enough, but it doesn't, you know, it's not ear piercing. I've had straight pipe 550s before that you had to wear earplugs because you're gonna, maybe I'm getting old, but it was way too loud for me. But this is totally manageable. It rides great, it shifts great, revs out nicely. Once again, the 110 main jets are doing great. So I'm really happy with how the bike turned out overall. Had a little bit of a pushback today with having to swap the handlebars, but not a huge deal, and overall I think it was worth it. So I figured now would be as good a time as any to kind of do a little overview of what exactly I've done to the bike, and in case you're just finding this video and you haven't watched the build series or you're just kind of curious. So we'll just start from the back. The back and the front are both Dunlop K70s. They're 4" by 18 in the back, 3.25 by 19 in the front. We have a tough side seat in brown, obviously. Custom frame hoop, custom battery box. Inside the battery box is a modern voltage regulator rectifier, a modern small lithium-ion battery. Let's see what else is in there. LED flasher relay, and I think that's it, and then all the normal standard stuff. Our exhaust, Dime City Cycles 12" universal muffler with a Delcovic 4-into-1 header. We have a Dyna S electronic ignition, carburetors, stock carburetors with 110 jets. Yeah, totally rebuilt. Pod filters. As you can see from the video earlier, it's running fantastic. No issues whatsoever. Doesn't seem to be lean, doesn't seem to be popping too much. So pretty good there. Obviously, we just watched us put on these drag style handlebars. These are tough side grips, exact same leather and stitching that are on the seat, so they match. Factory gauges, bar end mirrors. If you remember, we had the big dent on this side. It's not perfect by any means, but it's certainly a lot better than it was. We replaced the stator, but it is a stock unit, just replaced. We have LED lights up on the front here, little bullet lights. No front fender, which I know some of you guys are not too happy about, but I think it looks great without one. Also, we'll have people that'll complain that the front end will be super loose and you'll crash immediately if you drive one of these without a front fender, but I've put thousands of miles on CB550s without front fenders and I've never had any issue. Let's see, what else? I don't know, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously all the maintenance items have been done, brakes are all adjusted. Overall, it's a really, really good running bike now. Somebody could just jump on this and I wouldn't hesitate to take it on a long trip or, you know, daily ride it. It's never not started. It's always fires right up. I mean, you guys saw when I just started it earlier, that was a full cold start. Hadn't started it in, I don't know, maybe a couple of days. Nothing too crazy, but you can see it fires right up. You give it a little bit of throttle just for a minute or two while it warms up, and then you can turn down the idle. It idles nicely and has no issues whatsoever. All right, guys, we're going to call it there, not only for this video, but also for this build. The Barn to Brat project is 100% done. As you saw from the test ride, everything went really, really smooth. No complaints, no issues to sort out whatsoever. I mean, all the lights are working, the speedo, the tack, the exhaust sounds great, the tune seems perfect. I'm really, really, really stoked with how this bike turned out, and I hope you guys are too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We're going to wrap it on this one. We do have this bike, which you guys have not seen yet, and this is not the next project that I've been hinting at. This is a different one. The next project, again, is going to be a non-Honda. It's a bike that hasn't been running since the early 80s. So I'm going to be pulling that into the garage very soon to get it running, and you'll guys see that video, I would say, within the next couple of weeks. I do want to do a video or two on the Camaro. I want to do an LS, not the LS swap, I want to do an EFI, which I have the fuel tank, the fuel pump, all the lines, the fittings, the relay, everything we need for the full fuel injection system, which will be in preparation for the LS swap. So we do have a twin disc spec clutch we just picked up from a buddy of mine because I decided when we put the LS in there, we are going for a lot of horsepower, a scary amount, at least for me. I'd like to be able to run high nines in the car, so we're gonna need some power. So I already talking to a guy about a built 9-inch for it. Lots to come on the Camaro, so if you guys are into the car content, don't worry. I know I've been saying that for a while now, but I do intend on making some videos very soon. We're pulling the engine out of the GTO soon because my wife's gonna kill me if that yellow banana is stuck in my driveway any longer. So yeah, thanks for watching this series, guys. I'm really excited about kind of where the channel's going and all the support we've been seeing. Make sure to follow on Instagram. Check out classicoctane.com for shirts and stickers. I'll see you guys soon.